Meeting of the Gainesville City Commission Audit Committee. Pleased to have some good work in front of us this afternoon, and we'll get through it as efficiently as we can. Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Mayor, we are on to the adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
Second. We have motion and second to adopt the agenda as printed and distributed. I see no lights. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes unanimously. Mr. Clerk.
We are on to the approval of the minutes from the March 25th and June 10th, 2025 Audit Committee meeting, with the recommendation that the Audit Committee approve the minutes from the March 25th and June 10th, 2025 meetings.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the minutes for March 25th and June 10th, 2025 as printed and distributed. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes unanimously as well. Mr. Clerk.
All right, we are on to the first business discussion item, 2025-745, Human Resources, Recruiting and Hiring Processes, with the recommendation that the Audit Committee review, approve, and recommend the City Commission accept the audit report.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Auditor, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, the Audit Committee, builders and neighbors. We are going to present the first audit, which is HR recruiting and hiring processes. And to do that presentation is our Assistant City Auditor, Ms. Diana Ferguson-Satterthwaite, along with our Staff Auditor, Mr. Peter Demaris.
Very good. Welcome.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Mayor, Commissioner Eastman, Committee Member Monk, Diana Satterthwaite, Assistant City Auditor. I will be presenting the results, and Mr. Demaris will provide background information. But before we begin, I'll take this opportunity to thank the management and staff of the Human Resources Department for their cooperation, accessibility, and the professionalism throughout this audit. Thank you.
Very good.
Good afternoon, Mayor Ward,
Good
Commissioner Eastman, Committee Member Monk, Peter Demaris, Staff Auditor. As Diana said, I'll be bringing us through the background here. For the introduction, the objective of this engagement was to assess the design and operating effectiveness of the processes and internal controls related to recruiting and hiring talent. And the scope of this audit included assessing activities from October 1st, 2023 to April 30th, 2025. We accomplished our objective through inquiry, observation, and substantive testing, focusing on the following, which is governance, job requisitions, candidate sourcing, candidate selection, interviewing, and background screenings. The Human Resources Department provides services related to recruiting, hiring, retaining, and developing the talent needed to serve and support the City of Gainesville. The Talent Acquisition Division of the HR Department oversees recruiting and hiring processes. The hiring timeline goal for the department is between 71 and 81 days, and approximately 73% of the hiring is for police, fire, transit, and PRCA personnel. And then here we just have a brief overview of the hiring process. It's by no means comprehensive. It usually starts with a job requisition being created in Workday by the hiring manager. The position is posted by Talent Acquisition. Applicants are screened for minimum qualifications by Talent Acquisition and forwarded to hiring managers. Hiring managers choose interview questions and a panel, which are approved by Talent Acquisition. The hiring manager schedules interviews to be conducted by the interview panel. Panel members complete interview packets for each candidate, and then the hiring manager sends those packets along with their preferred candidate to Talent Acquisition. Talent Acquisition sends conditional offer letters to candidates. A background check is conducted by a third party, and then the candidate is ready for hire. And with that, I will pass it back to Diana.
Diana, before you proceed, I would like to bring to the attention of the committee the diagram that you saw, the colorful diagram that we had on the board. What you saw in your folders, I just put on your folders, it's the same report that you already had, but we corrected one typo in that diagram. We had one of the boxes saying hiring manager instead of hiring manager. So So we thought to correct that and give you that new report. You will also see there is another report, which is our IT report that we are going to mention today without discussing. There is also a typo there. There is a word one. It came out as something else. Is out instead of one. So those are just replacements. It's something we already had.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, on to our conclusion. We concluded that HR recruiting and hiring practices aligns with best practices. However, procedures needed to be documented to guide staff on the specifics of the hiring process, reduce potential conflicts of interest, and ensure that background screening outcome is documented for all categories of employees. We identified noteworthy accomplishments as a result of the audits. We identified controls that were established and are working as designed. The city established an employment policy and also a nepotism policy to reduce the risk of employment of unqualified candidates and conflicts of interest. Candidates sampled who were not forwarded to hiring managers did not meet the minimum requirements. We did not identify any conflicts of interest during the audit. Also, HR established hiring timelines that are consistent with best practices. Onto our results. We identified 3 opportunities for improvements. The areas are talent acquisition procedures, a process for declaring potential conflicts of interest, and background screening. Beginning with talent acquisition procedures, a documented hiring process timeline exists, but there's no formal guideline for staff on the specifics of the hiring process, such as staff coverage, posting lengths, and posting channels. We were unable to accurately compute timeline for evergreen positions and individuals placed on the eligibility list. We provided management with the following recommendations. Talent acquisition document procedures relating to hiring process to include activities in the hiring timeline, staff coverage, and the posting details. Management provided us with the following action plan, which is to be implemented by March 31st of 2026. The plan include creating a comprehensive hiring process manual that aligns with the existing process timeline. The manual will define responsibilities and expectations for staff at each stage of the hiring process. It will also include written guidance on job posting practices and cover specific practices relating to evergreen posting and the eligibility list. On to our second opportunity, process for declaring potential conflicts of interest. There is a nepotism practice and policy that addresses hiring relatives, but there is no documented procedure for staff to declare potential conflicts of interest and for ensuring timely completion of ethics and fraud training. We provided management with the following recommendations. We recommended that processes and procedures be strengthened for talent acquisition staff to declare potential conflicts of interest, and processes be developed to ensure staff complete mandatory annual training in a timely manner. Management provided the following action plan to be implemented by June 1st of 2026. Management will establish and implement a documented process for talent acquisition staff to complete a conflict of interest disclosure form. The form will be automated in the ERP system. The procedure will allow for staff to update their disclosure if potential conflicts arise during the hiring process. Regarding the mandatory annual fraud and ethics training, if enrollment is not automated, the hiring management will create a 30-day reminder before the due date for staff and will escalate to the talent strategy manager for overdue training. And our final opportunity relates to background screening. The city has a documented background screening practice. However, the screening practice does not cover processes for some GPD personnel and the charter officers. We identified inconsistencies in the ERP system for 9 of 40 candidates reviewed. We recommended that management update the background screening practice to include GPD personnel and the charter officers and develop a background screening procedure to include initiating and reviewing background screening, updating the ERP system, and roles and responsibilities. Management provided action plan to be implemented by March 1st of 2026. Management will update the background screening practice to include GPD personnel and the charter officers. They will also develop and implement a formal background screening procedure that will outline steps required to initiate and review background screening. It will include a process for updating the ERP system and assign roles and responsibilities for all staff involved in the process. Thank you. That's it.
Very good.
Questions
Thank
for
you.
us?
Excellent. Any questions? Commissioner Eastman?
Yeah, no, thank you guys so much, and thank you HR for, I know these are, a lot of work for both the departments that get audited as well as, for our audit team, and so thank you guys. I was curious, I'm looking at, you guys at the very beginning, whenever I'm looking at these, I kind of balancing out the need for, accountability and making sure that there are processes in place, while at the same time making sure our staff have, the flexibility to move through things, quickly. And so I thought at the very first slide, it said 71 to 81 days is the time to hire, but then I also see here it says 68 days, I believe I read in there. Am I reading this correctly? I know there's probably a distinction between the selection, the hiring time. That was the discrepancy. The hiring timeline goal is 71 to 81 days. 68 days was what you guys had selected within there. Okay. And then what is the range for SHRM generally?
I have it here. So for SHRM, it's 62 to 70 days. So we're within, or we're not far off, but what they actually achieved was better than they planned.
Okay. All right, great. I mean, that's important. I know HR does a whole lot of different things, but making sure that from the moment that, we decide that we need a position filled to when we fill that is a really critical one. Particularly, we're not hiring that often. Make sure we get good folks in the door. Going on to the next point, the talent acquisition procedure. I mean, obviously there's some kind of procedure that's in place right now, correct? I mean, you're just saying that we need to fill that out into more specific.
Yes, they have a timeline. They're gonna break it down, put some more details, and give more guidance to the staff.
Okay.
And I think Jordan is here, can assist us with that.
Do you mind if I guess for each one of these things, I want to make sure that I want to make sure that things aren't overly burdensome for our HR department. I mean, and that, is this something that you guys have been thinking about filling this out more in the past, or because it doesn't seem like there's any issues per se with policies not being followed. They didn't find any findings per se, yes. But they just want you to fill it out more, I guess.
Yes, so the policies are all there. As far as our procedure, everything is documented out through Workday. I think it's more related to a hiring manager understanding, here are all the details and how we got there.
Got it. Okay. So just for the hiring managers,
yes, sir.
Kind of like the auditor, we come into these processes from the outside. The hiring manager is the person from the department that is looking at that. Okay. So that they have that. Okay. Well, that seems like that could be helpful overall, just to help them understand the process and then move everything through. Okay. All right. Perfect. Thank you. Conflict of interest, I got no questions on. That seems straightforward enough. The background screening, there's clearly, are we saying that we didn't do background screenings on police that were coming in previously?
No, sir. So for GPD, They do a very expansive one in-house, and then we simply document that within Workday.
So is it duplicative for HR to do another background screening?
Financially, yes. Financially, it would cost us double. So with theirs, they're going much more extensive. They're doing it in-house. And then if it's a civilian, we will cover that. But for any officer, no.
Okay. And the recommendation is that we also do a background screening.
No, I believe the recommendation is right now, the way it is processed is GPD communicates to us, so-and-so has passed background check, they can be moved forward. And what we're going to be switching to is that they would be able to, right in Workday, do that themselves.
Okay.
So essentially, we're kind of like a middleman, but it just makes it cleaner because then they're deciding it and they're putting it into Workday.
Okay. So in some ways, and it was one of the things I like seeing out of the auditor's office is seeing, are there processes, not just processes that we're adding, but processes that would be better handled by the department as
Yes,
opposed
correct.
to this department? How do we streamline process or even eliminate them if they're unnecessary or that, it might have a handoff? And it sounds kind of like that's what's happening.
Yes, sir.
All right, great. Well, then I got no further questions. Thank you, guys.
Okay, very good. Mr. Mock, anything? Okay, all right. Is there anyone from the public?
No public comment.
Okay. All right, thank you very much to everyone involved, everyone in the auditor staff and HR and city manager's office, all of you for, anyone who had a hand in this, thanks for bringing it forward. And we look forward to follow up. Anybody want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to move that the audit committee recommend to the city commission the human resources recruiting and hiring processes.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes unanimously. Thank you very much, Mr. Clerk.
All right, with that, we are moving on to 2025-748, Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles, Internal Control and Data Security, with the recommendation that the Audit Committee review, approve, and recommend the City Commission accept the audit report.
Mr. Auditor.
Mr. Mayor, members of the Audit Committee, this audit, the Florida Highway Safety and Motor Vehicle Internal Control and Data Security Audit that's quite a mouthful. This is an IT audit that is required by the Florida Department of Motor Vehicles. The city holds a memorandum of understanding for the use of a database that they have, a database called Driver and Motor Vehicle Information Database. They just call it DAVID. That database requires that the city does a fully fledged audit once every 3 years. And this is one of those 3 years. For the other 2 years that are intervening, we just do what is called an attestation. So we've done this audit, and because it is IT, it has got some security issues that we are not going to discuss publicly, and there is a statute that allows us to do that. There is an exemption statute, Florida section 119.0725. However, I would like to say that we have completed this audit. We've written the report. We are working very closely with the city manager's office as well as a GRU IT. So they are putting in the recommendations that we made. This memorandum requires that after those recommendations are made, that we write in the report, we add it to this report to say these recommendations have been done, and then we send it over to the state. I would like to add also to say, however, if there are any issues that you wish to discuss, if you have any questions, myself and our IT audit manager, who is the one who conducted this audit, are available anytime we can answer your questions.
Very good. Okay, any questions, comments? Okay. Is there any, there's not much public comment on, but is there any public comment?
No, Mr. Mayor, there's no public comment.
Commissioner Eastman?
Yeah, well, I'd make the motion, but yeah, I don't want to go too much into the audit report. Just I know that we have we have new folks that are overseeing the IT department. I see that there's some good recommendations here, some security improvements that could really it looks like that we're getting on. So I'm very comfortable with this. I'll move to, let me make sure I get the right. Move that the Audit Committee recommend to the City Commission the FLH SMV internal control and data security audit.
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes unanimously as well. Thank you very much to everyone involved in that as well. Mr. Auditor, manager, staff, everyone, thanks for bringing that to a conclusion as well. Mr. Clerk.
Next, we have 2025-750 City Auditor Strategic Plan with the recommendation that the Audit Committee review, approve, and recommend the City Commission accept the City Auditor Strategic Plan.
Mr. Auditor.
Mr. Mayor, this is a simple and quick discussion, I hope, of the internal audit strategic plan that we have. We are trying to communicate to you what we are doing in the office, the strategies that we use in the office in order for us to be able to achieve the goals that we have for the office. So this strategic plan is really a communication of the vision that we have in the office, our mission, and this has not changed for some time. We do have strategic goals and objectives that I listed down here, and they cover some things that you are already aware of, especially the fact that our audits are all risk-based. We have also included the fact that we support the city's commitment to ethical governance, and in that regard, we have as one of our goals that of compliance and ethics in the office. We also move on to something that we think is very important, which is the communication that we have with other charters, as well as the community at large. So we plan that we will improve our communication strategy with chapters and directors and managers, but we also would like to foster more relationships with our neighbors, especially our academia. This is something that we have tried for about a year now, but it has kind of been on hold because of the political environment, really, that in which we operate. But we have made some inroads with making connections with professors at the University of Florida, and we do plan to go to Santa Fe College and try to have some connections there as well. We are aware of the fact that we are a small office, and as such, we have a strategy to keep looking at our capabilities and improving what we can and doing whatever training that we can get to enable us to be able to execute professionally and efficiently any audits that might come our way. We are aware also of the fact that the technology landscape is changing all the time. So we do have a strategy that we are going to stay on top of the situation. At this point, we are very fortunate in that we have our IT audit manager who is very well versed in technology, etc. But it is important that everybody in the office gets as close as possible to the developments that are taking place there. AI is one good example. Cybersecurity is another. Excuse me. I would like also to bring your attention to key performance indicators that we would like to use in the office. We have 3 key performance metrics that we would like to work on in this coming year. The first one is that on executing our audits. We want to be able to hit a 70% mark, meaning we would like to be able to complete 70% of the audits that we have on our audit plan. I believe that before we took the decision to freeze one of our positions, our percentage was higher. It was 90%. but we brought it a little bit down to recognize the fact that we will be one staff member short. But still, 70% is regarded in the industry to be a good rate if we can achieve it. And we are going to try to do that. Our other key performance metric is that on the percentage of implementation of audit recommendations we make by the managers. We have a 90% rate that we would like to try and achieve. I will say that we think we can hit this maybe relatively easily. In fact, our goal is to hit 100% implementation rate, because we do, every time when we have audits, communicate with managers and people that are running these functions to agree on the recommendations that we are putting down in our reports. So before we come to you to talk about this, we have discussed with them. They tell us how best it can be done, etc. So we think it will be possible to hit at least this 90%. Last but not least, we have a stakeholder satisfaction rate that we would like to achieve. In other words, we want to be able, for every audit that we do, for the people we work with to be satisfied with what we have done. Now, being satisfied does not necessarily mean that they agree 100% with everything we do, but we want to conduct our audits in a manner that they appreciate, because we know that they do have better things to do, and I don't mean this lightly. Auditing is, we are coming after they have done things, so they have better things to do. We want them to still be able to see us come to their offices to do this. So we have a metric there of 3 on a scale of 5. 5 being the best, and I think we can hit 5 possibly. We, like I said, are a small office. And as such, we have a strategy here that we will do a SWOT analysis of the office so that we know our strengths, we are able to identify our weaknesses, that we are able to identify opportunities that we have in the office, and that we are aware of threats that might be ahead of us as we try to do our job. So SWOT analysis is something that we are going to be doing regularly, so that we are always aware of things that might come to cause us not to be able to achieve our objectives. Now, this internal strategic plan is something that we plan to do on an annual basis. I know that in the industry, a 3-year strategic plan is very good, but we are, I think, in times which things keep changing so far. So we want to be able to move as things change. So we are going to be doing this strategic plan on an annual basis. I just thought I could just bring out here for discussion, and that's all I have.
Okay, very good. Any comments? Okay. Commissioner Eastman?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for putting all this together. I've been curious, and maybe this is probably a conversation we can have when I want to, but how does, I mentioned before about looking at performance and streamlining operations and doing more sort of performance auditing type thing. I mean, does that, is that anything that you guys currently look at? Like what the processes, potentially streamlining processes, like how does that fit in overall to how you guys look?
Luckily, at this time we do in the industry have what they are calling agile auditing.
Yeah.
And agile auditing is a process that encourages auditors to work fast, to work, to move quickly with audits, not to linger too long and too much on certain things that probably won't bring much value. To be able to bring audits to the committee like this as quickly as possible. So we think that with the application of agile auditing, and it's not something that you can just say, oh, I'm going to do a short audit and that's agile auditing. There are some nuances to that, and we are all still trying to learn about that. But one of the main factors of that is in that phase where you scope out what you're going to do in an audit, identify the really, really big risks that you have to deal with. And you deal with those as much as you can. Not dwell too much on small things. So that means we might, if we are able to grasp that concept very well, we might be able to do shorter audits in terms of time, yet audits that bring more value in terms of what we can recommend, etc. So when we bring to you this, today we're going to be talking about our annual audit plan. You will see that we have a number of topics, 12 topics. Now the office size we have probably might say 12 is trying to be over ambitious, but well, we would like to try to see what other auditing can do for us, and we're just going to try to go for it. So
Okay.
that's happening in the industry.
Wow. So you guys are going to try this kind of more innovative method of all right.
I would say that at this point we are all anxious about the use of artificial intelligence to do audits, especially audit writing and doing certain things, doing research. However, we don't have a policy as yet, and we cannot. Let me say, I will not let loose AI in the office because we don't know where things can go wrong. But that is technology that is ahead of us. That I think when it gets to us, we might be able to do more with a little less.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it. I don't think I have any more questions.
All right, very good. Is there any public comment? Mr. Clark?
No, Mr. Mayor, there's no public comment.
Okay. All right, would anyone like to make a motion? Commissioner Eastman?
I'd like to move that the Audit Committee approve and recommend to the City Commission the City Auditor Strategic Plan.
Second. We have a motion and second. Thank you once again, Mr. Auditor and staff, for bringing this forward. It's much appreciated. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passed unanimously. Mr. Clerk.
All right, we are on to 2025-751, the City Auditor Annual Report, with the recommendation that the Audit Committee review, approve, and recommend the City Commission accept the City Auditor Annual Report.
Very good. Mr. Auditor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The annual report is really just a rehash of what we've been doing in the office ever since last year. And I will, Peter is going to be helping me, who is helping us. Sorry, Lisa is going to be helping me with that. Can you? All right, what you see on that first page is really the Office of the City Auditor. It's a small team. As you can see, it is showing 6 positions. We have 5 positions that are filled at this time, and we have 1 senior auditor position that is frozen. But that is the total complement of the people in the office. We have the city auditor, we have the assistant city auditor, the IT audit manager, staff internal auditor, and an audit coordinator. What you see here is a list of audits that we've been able to accomplish. You see a list of 5. We have done audits in Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs Department. It was a billing and collections audit. We have done an IT audit with the Police Department that we listed there as data management. We have just presented the HR recruiting and hiring processes audit. And we also completed the SHIP and local housing assistance plan. And we just talked about the Florida Highway Safety and Motor Vehicle, Internal Control and Data Security. These are the audits that we've been able to do at this point. We do have 2 audits that are underway. Asset management processes is, I would say it is almost done. We in the office tried to work as hard as we could to bring it to this particular audit committee, but we couldn't make it. So it will be presented to you in the next audit committee meeting in December. We have the PCI process audit, which is an IT audit also underway. And at the beginning of the year, when we started this audit, we were also hoping that we'll be able to bring it to this committee, to this committee meeting. But again, because of other intervening things, we were not able to do it. intervening things, including our implementation of an audit software in the office. It took quite a bit of time, and we couldn't work on this. But also we had visits from DOGE, from the state, and we had to reallocate our time. But this audit is going to be ready for the audit committee in December as well. I don't think that anything will change on that. Now, from our audit plan for this particular year, for FY25, there are 3 audits that we were not able to do. One of them, capital projects audit, we simply couldn't get to it. However, 2 others, procurement audit and workday, were put on hold. Procurement because the procurement division was in management watch, and workday because there was an evaluation that was being done by an external expert. So that is why we didn't even try to do those. They will come perhaps in a slightly changed manner in our upcoming year in the audit agenda. What you see, that graph there, is a representation of the status of recommendations that we have made in this past year. It shows that we have done, we have 63% of recommendations that have been fully implemented, and 30% of recommendations that have been partially implemented, which means they are in the process of implementing them. So we have there a 93% aggregate rate of either partially or fully implemented. We have 7% of recommendations that are still open and are yet to be implemented. In the office, we do also conduct fraud, waste, and abuse investigations that come through the hotline. The figures that you see there are figures of cases that have come to us, figures that we have dealt with, and cases that we have closed. So we opened the year with 2 cases that were carrying over from the previous year, and we received 11 new cases, and we worked on them all and completed and closed 9. So that means from those numbers that unless something closes during this week or before October, we will be carrying over 4 cases to the next year. So we haven't discussed yet a risk assessment. We performed a risk assessment to prepare for FY26, and this is something that we're going to be talking about. It's coming up, but I will just summarize what's there and say our risk assessment involved doing some quantitative calculations to calculate risk scores for audit topics that we had, and we have come up, like I alluded to earlier, with 12 topics that are going to be on our audit plan that we think we will be working on next year. We in the office also carry out ethics training, or we coordinate ethics training. We work with the city clerk's office and we work with HR to come up with a material that is given to employees for training in their ethics. But with the clerk's office, we coordinate to bring people that can train elected officials in ethics. And this year, our ethics training is going to be on December 11th, but that's next year. Last year, somebody from the Florida Commission on Ethics came to train us, and that is something that we're still committed to. We do have a quality assurance and improvement plan in the office. I already discussed the strategic plan that we have come up with. We also do post-audit surveys. I talked about the satisfaction rate, where I said 3 on a scale of 5 is what we try to achieve. We are able to do that because we do post-audit surveys. And this year, we are going to have visitors come to us to do a peer review. And that peer review is really an audit that is being done by auditors from elsewhere, not from our office, auditors from elsewhere that are going to come and they will be here for a week auditing the work that we do. They will be looking at work that has been done for the past 3 years, the third year ending on September 30. So the team of auditors is coming in November, November 3 to November 7 is when they will be here. All that is part of our quality improvement. They will make recommendations to us to give us insights on, well, this part you have to do it this way, this part you have to do it this way, the other part you have to do it that way. There have been some changes made by associations that we follow. The IIA brought up new standards in 2024 that we must now implement. The Government Accountability Office, which is the one that comes up with what we call GAGAS, Generally Accepted Government Auditing Standards. They also changed their standards. Now, what that means, of course, is that because bad habits die hard, we might be doing certain things in the way that we've been doing them. But because of these changes, when this audit team comes, they will be giving us some pointers. This is how to do this, this is how to change. So we are looking forward to their visit. We have come up also with a simple and straightforward city auditor initiative where we try to foster better relationships that we have, particularly with the city manager's office. We visit facilities that they run to try to understand better what they do, to try to understand the risks that they face and how difficult or how easy or how complex the work that they do is. So this particular year, we have gone out on a tour of stormwater infrastructure, we've gone out on a tour of fire stations, and we have also gone out on a tour of the data center. This upcoming year, we plan to go on tours of city swimming pools, as well as to visit the inventory store or warehouse. We think that this will help us not only understand what's going on, but also foster a relationship, a better working relationship with those people that run these functions. Well, that's all I have on that. Thank you.
Very good. All right. Members, Mr. Buck.
What is Management Watch?
Management Watch. The city manager is coming to give a better explanation.
Welcome, Madam Manager.
Good afternoon, Cynthia Kerr, City Manager. Management Watch is something that was implemented in Miami-Dade County and across the state, probably across the country, when a manager sees that a department is struggling in some way with a policy or a procedure in terms of implementation, or we want just a little bit more review about a process because there are concerns coming from the operating departments that actually deal with it. The department is put in a time frame where we are able to do some internal review to make those corrections. And so we've done it with Ironwood, we've done it with our transportation department, and right now we're doing it with our procurement division. We have hired a consultant to basically come in and help us with the review. We have our internal control office working with that particular consultant and the procurement department to make the recommendations for implementation. We're in that time frame right now, working with the consultant and our team. I pulled procurement out of the finance department so that we could focus on it individually, and it is being overseen by my executive chief of staff, Cynthia Ramos, and that is Management Watch is really a more in-depth review internally.
And is that made public?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, Madam Manager. Any other questions?
No.
Okay. All right. Is there any public comment on this?
No, Mr. Mayor, there's no
Okay. Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Auditor, the only question that I would have on the, would you go back one slide? So I want to have a better understanding of the intent of the tours of facilities, because I want to make sure that we're not just creating an extra level of governance in there and I'm getting familiar with facilities is laudable. Absolutely, it helps to, when there is an audit, you'll be able to perform that audit better if you know what that department does. But I want to get a comfort level that we're not creating an inspection in addition to an audit.
I would say that these are not inspection visits. These are really visits for the auditor to understand better what's going on. I will say that it is a strategy that is used not only, well, I'm introducing it here, but it is not only here that is being used. I'll give the city of Tampa as a good example. Auditors are encouraged to go out and understand what's going on out there. That informs auditors to, when time comes to do an audit, not start exactly from scratch. It's good when you go to a wastewater facility plant, for example, and when you talk to somebody about the processes that are going on there, it's always good to have a vision of what you saw. It gives you a better understanding of what is going on. It gives you a better understanding or maybe a better ability to see how things flow. We are not going to have at all a tour that will end up with a requirement for anything to be done. These are just tours, they are not audits. I'm just going there to see if we are to discuss what we have seen with the managers that are there. That is fine, we can do that. But I'm not saying to them, you got to do this, you got to do that. We only reserve that for audits.
Okay. All right, very good.
The-
All right.
That inspection is normal in most audit situations to make sure the auditors understand what they're dealing with. So that's not uncommon at all.
Right, but this is outside the scope of an audit entirely. This is just scheduling, as I understand it, tell me if I'm wrong. This is just scheduling to go visit facilities
That's right.
that are not under audit.
It's not an audit. It's not an audit.
No, it's not an audit, it's just to familiarize the auditors with what that department is
Yes,
doing.
indeed.
Okay. All right, any other comments? If not, let's get a motion on the table.
Well, and so are those tours, are you, is your department going, or is it just going to be you, or how has it been scheduled in the past generally?
It's not strict at this point to say who is going, but I'm the newest guy in the city auditor's office, so I'm the one who needs to understand these things better. So I have gone with our staff auditor to tour stormwater infrastructure. I went by myself to tour fire stations, but I was accompanied by managers, department directors from risk management, and I think I had also Mr. Singleton on that tour. The data center tour, I just took advantage. We already had an audit that was going on, which was an IT audit, and I thought, here's my opportunity to see where our data center is, what it looks like. So I took that tour. I didn't have to go, but I did. So that is how that was carried out.
Right. I mean, I will say this, I think, to that point is, because I'm in the same boat as, I love to go, as a city commissioner, love going out, seeing all of our departments, everything. I realized fairly quickly into all this that city commissioner going out and just seeing departments is going to be a whole kit and caboodle, simply because you're a city commissioner going out and seeing various departments. And the same will certainly be true of an auditor. When the auditor's office is going to an area, it as nice as it would be for someone in a higher level position with authority over things to just be flowing and picking and doing information gathering, it will get it, people will stand up a little bit straighter, and that, I think that's perfectly fine. But just in the same way, I think that was part of the question, is that there will be some amount of structure and things around it, and people looking out to see, well, is this an audit of my pool? Is this an audit of this particular thing? Just to make sure you guys are carrying yourselves with the understanding that that you're in a position where you can make changes to things like that, and to carry that as carefully as you could.
Yeah, I always make sure to have them understand that I am not on an audit tour. This is just a tour, familiarization tour. Teach me what you can. What is this? What is that? What is it for? Etc.
Okay.
All right, I would like to move that the Audit Committee approve and recommend to the City Commission that we accept the City Auditor Annual Report.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Auditor. Mr. Clerk.
All right, we're on to our last item, 2025-773, fiscal year 2026 annual audit agenda, with the recommendation that the Audit Committee review, approve, and recommend the City Commission accept the City Auditor fiscal year 2026 annual audit agenda.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Auditor.
Don't we have slides for that?
They put it up first, but they took it down.
Oh, are they able, can they hear us? Are they able to put it up again?
Okay. They'll get there.
But I can start though. This is a discussion really of the annual audit plan, the audit agenda that we have for FY26. I've already discussed a little bit about how we came about to make this annual audit plan. We had a quantitative aspect and a qualitative aspect. In the quantitative, like I said, we were calculating risk scores associated with an audit topic or so-called auditable entities. We calculated those risk scores, and then we had, in our qualitative aspect, discussions with directors and charters and managers to see. Oof, that thing can't be seen.
That doesn't look
the same. Don't we have slides for that? Don't we have slides? I got slides. All right. All right, I guess I'll just pick from here. It's not a very long topic anyway, but what I was saying is the quantitative aspect of this risk assessment involved us using 7 factors to calculate risks for each of the areas that we had. And talking about those areas, we had discussions with charters and directors and managers to try to map out our audit universe, a whole universal set of all topics possible for the city of Gainesville. And we came up with 151 different topics. And so in our risk assessment, we were dealing with those 151 topics, utilizing this formula to see which areas had a higher risk score and which had lower risk scores. And then we had discussions with charters, like I said, and managers and directors, and they were telling us their own perspectives of where they thought the risks were, what their concerns were, etc., etc. And what we came up with is an audit agenda with, like I said earlier, 12 topics. That is not going to be seen by anybody. We have 12 topics. We have a topic in financial services, a topic in procurement division, in risk management, Gainesville Police Department, we have 2. We have transportation, 1 topic, a fire rescue, 1 topic, public works, 2 topics, information technology, 3 topics. That makes a total of 12. And at the bottom of that agenda, I have other activities that we do in the office and other activities, the work that we do in the fraud hotline, special projects that we do, advisory services that we might do, etc., etc. Procurement division is on this agenda for FY26, and the topic that we are intending to do is inventory and stores. The list I have here is not necessarily the order. The order I have here is not necessarily the order in which these topics will be done. Before we embark on any topic, we're going to have discussions with the charters, with the directors, to see what the right time is to do an audit. We don't just say, you are next, we don't do that. So there's going to be further discussions with the directors and charters to see where do we go first, so that we can both utilize our time as efficiently as possible. I would like to point out as well the fact that we carved out some topics that are covered by our external auditor, by Purvis Gray. And I have the upper program, streets, station, and strong foundations program, community investment tax, general employees pension fund, police and firefighters retirement plan, GCRA tax increment financing, the upper affordable housing and housing stabilization initiatives, the upper aid to nonprofits and homeless support services, and upper internal controls and wild species and public places funds. So we carved these out so that we don't have to do something that the external auditor is touching on.
Only after he's.
This is all I have. Okay, there we go. That list that you see there. Can you put? So that's the external auditor. All those topics, we are not going to be going at all into detail. We might just try to understand what's going on, but we're not going to waste time on them because they are being done. Our audit plan is really this one. This is our audit plan for FY26. This is what we are presenting to you today to say this is the agenda for us for next year. That is all I have.
Okay. Madam Manager, did you want to weigh in on anything?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I would definitely support the fact that he has met with me and many of the executive members of my team. I'm not quite sure how many directors that you met with, but I do know that you reached out and had extensive conversation with me and my staff about risk areas. There are a couple of items on here that I just have a slight bit of concern around, and it would be the transportation item, RTS, ADA transportation and consumer complaints and safety. And speaking with the director of transportation, they wanted to have more discussion because did not recall having an opportunity to have that discussion during maybe some of those meetings that you had. And knowing what is happening right now with the RTS ADA program, which has been administered 20 plus years by an external player, that there is a pending decision, of course, as to whether we bring that in-house or not. It's a budget decision that will be finalized at our next budget hearing. But I do have some concern about that because the director has expressed that concern, and I do know that that program is in flux right now in terms of where it might stand, and that we have not really had, we the city have not managed that program directly because it's been a contract. So that's one I would have a little bit of concern about in terms of staying on the audit plan until we can flush it out a little bit more. And the health insurance item is one that I would have some concern about, just in terms of more discussion, because this is under Steve Arvell, who happens to be here, and I wasn't aware that this discussion had occurred either. So I'm just bringing those to your attention.
All right. Thank you, Madam Manager.
Those concerns are all very well and good. I will say that we did have some discussions with the Director of Transportation. Correct me if I'm wrong, my staff. We had our risk assessment discussions on this topic. It is also a topic that we circulated, well, before we came to this as a topic, we circulated a solicitation of ideas on auditable entities, and this was one of them, and it was, the contribution came from the concerned people in those particular departments. However, it is very good that we are made aware that there are concerns about the execution of these audits. And I will say that we are not diving straight into these topics right away. And so what I would like to ask is for the Audit Committee to approve this agenda we have here. And I will have discussions with the city manager, with the directors concerned, to see if, in fact, these need only to be delayed until maybe later in the year, or if these have to be completely removed from the agenda for any reason. At this point, I think it is okay, if that's okay, for this to be approved as it is, and we'll have our discussions as we go.
Thank you, Mr. Auditor, Madam Manager. The RTS ADA audit, we don't know exactly where that will be in the coming months, but we do know that it will not be that anything any changes will not be fully implemented for some portion of the coming year, because the contract, as I understand it, with the current vendor lasts through at least 1/4 of the coming fiscal year. Is that accurate off the top of everybody's head? So I'm not sure how that gets audited. It's going to be in flux for a large portion of the year, would be my guess. So I would certainly put that toward the end of the list, and perhaps for another year, just for logistical purposes.
Yeah, it's a policy that I agree with, that you don't audit a function that is in motion, that is changing. Because, I mean, what good is that when after you make a recommendation, something is completely changed, you have to make a different recommendation. So I would still ask that you approve this audit. I'll have those discussions with the Director of Transportation and the Director of Risk Management to see where exactly we stand with respect to those topics, whether they stay until later in the year, or whether we need to replace them as soon as we can.
Right. Madam Manager.
So I support the auditor. Clearly, I'm a short-termer in terms of, the balance of fiscal 26. The interim city manager, about to be interim city manager, is sitting here, and he needs to have a comfort level with this. So many of the items, probably all of the items that are here, came to the attention of the auditor through his meetings, with the different individuals. And yes, I reviewed the list prior to this meeting, so this is not a surprise to me at all. I just kind of wanted to make sure that the audit committee understands that there are some items on here that we probably need to have a little bit more discussion with the auditor about before this list is finalized.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Thank you. All right, Commissioner Eastman.
Yeah, thank you. I had questions as well about the 88 transportation, just because we're having very public discussions. I understand why. I guess the transportation department obviously was telling, let me start with this. You're looking at overall risk. You're doing a risk assessment top to bottom, right? And you're looking at quantitative and qualitative type things. I mean, what is the balance within this of quantitative versus qualitative? Like how many of these things are things that, that you've seen or you've heard from versus that we have, real either liability risk or fraud risk or things like that as we're looking down this list?
Well, I will say, like I said, talking about the quantitative aspect of this, we used 7 factors, and those factors include the financial impact of a program or a function. That's one factor. Another factor is organizational change. What's going on within that function in terms of change relative to top management and change relative to information technology assets in there. We also have a factor of laws and regulations that impact that particular function. That's a factor we use. And there is public welfare. Yeah. That's also a factor that we have in our formula. We have complexity, how complex an operation is. Risk and complexity go hand in hand. And we also look at the time that has passed since an audit was ever done in that area. If an audit was ever done in that area, we also look at the risk ratings of finding, if at all, that were there when that audit was done. So this is what we use in our quantitative. It helps us to calculate those risk scores. And then we had discussions where we were asking the directors and the managers what they think about the area, where they think the risks were, etc., etc.
Right.
Yes, and so my assessment is the following. So as I had my direct conversation with the auditor at the front end of him developing the audit plan for 26. And as he asked me questions, as a city manager, the concern that was raised was, for example, financial impact. The question is, do you think you have enough resources to implement what? That's a question that really is, I can answer it because I know what the budget is and I know what the budget supports. But the policy to set that budget is not mine as a manager. It's not the director or the manager of the program. It's the city commission. And so when the risk assessment starts to move into the financial underpinnings of an operation or organizational change, laws and regulations, unless something is awry, it kind of moves into the city manager's purview of management. And so it's a concern that I raise, and it requires a really good discussion with the auditor before the audit plan is really established, because depending on what they are going to be looking at in these audits, could very well be more aligned with the internal control office that is a part of the manager's office and the finance department, which is more of a management advisory role that sometimes is in an audit department, but in our case, it is not. They are strictly on the audit side of the equation. And so I raise this as a concern.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to say one thing. The risk assessment that we use when we try to pick topics from 151 different topics is slightly different from the risk assessment that we do at an audit topic level. When we go to do an actual audit, we're still going to do a risk assessment when we get there. This risk assessment is just to help us see where we can go and do an audit. So it might not be as scientific as other things. There is some element of subjectivity. It won't be as accurate as certain things. It's an idea of where we think risks are. And that's how we come up with that.
Right. As I look through, well, last year's audit, like PRCA billing and collections, right? Obviously, that's money. There's a significant amount of transactions that are occurring, right? And so I could see that being a financial impact risk, and there's laws and regulations, and it is somewhat complex in that there's tons of little pots of money that go through that. Data management, HR recruiting. HR is a huge liability, right? I mean, we have an entire attorney within Dan's office that just deals with the HR. Ship and housing assistance plan audit, where federal money's coming in, so there's all the regulations around that. The FLH SMV, which we just reviewed, and is required every 3 years, but still, I mean, that's external money coming in, so it's slightly different. And then this year is, so the top three, the top two have been kind of rolled over into this year, right? So you have capital assets, which is another lot of money. Procurement, I guess procurement, inventory, and stores was not. Was that rolled over? Am I remembering this right? From last year?
We had a procurement audit. It was a little wider than what we are talking about in this particular one. But we had a procurement audit that was put on hold.
Right. And then health insurance, of course, there's a lot complex, lots of money in there. But then it does feel more, and then you got IT, so I'll separate that out. But you got like the police support services, or the RTS ADA is external. But then the thing that stood out to me was the facilities management administration, which is much more internal. I can tell you that when you guys audit it, what you'll probably find is that they could be working at a much higher level if we just funded our facilities a little bit more. But I could tell you that will be an audit. That you don't need an auditor to. And I mean, it's a there's certain things that we could be funding more within there, and then there's also the kind of structural and organizational look at it to make sure that I guess they're following processes. But some of that's I'm curious about the risk on some of these more operational things you have in there, like the I guess residential garbage collection, which gets billed through, which I guess there's significant amounts of money that get put through there. But the community resource paramedicine program is also just a very operational audit, as opposed to significant amounts of money coming in or significant amounts of money going out, or kind of the federal government having their own requirements and structures within that. Those are I guess two that really stuck out to me is community resource paramedicine and the facilities management administration, which, like I said, very internal and operational. And I'm curious what your thought. Why those two in particular?
Yeah, these are performance audits. Some of them can be performance as well as compliance.
Right.
And we are looking at these things not purely from the standpoint of how much money is involved. It's one of 7 factors. Money is one of 7 factors. Now, talking about these audits that impact or has a bearing on the public.
Right.
like garbage collection. You are talking about, what did you talk about? Police support services.
Right.
Community resource paramedicine. These are audits that are very much in the public eye. And so there is that factor that drives that particular fact. You see what is going on in other jurisdictions, and you wonder, could this be going on here too? So that is why sometimes things end up here.
Okay. So you're also looking at maybe high profile or even low profile things that have occurred in other communities to say, okay, well, this is something that could be an issue over here, something that could happen as well in Gainesville.
That feeds into it as well.
Okay. Okay. So you're looking at, and then also the performance and just ensuring that things are moving through appropriately. Okay. Yeah, it just, these do feel a little more in the weeds and more operational than previously. And I get that, I guess you came in sort of near you were sort of implementing a previous auditor, or I'm trying to remember the timelines here, but the current, the ones that we did for the previous fiscal year were brought forward. When
Yeah, I inherited.
Yeah.
I think I inherited an audit plan.
Right. So that was an inherited audit plan. I know, yeah. Good. Yes, Andrew.
I'm not sure how to address you, Mr. Mayor. I guess Andrew Persons, Chief Operating
COO,
Officer.
yes.
COO, yes. I know who I am. With respect to the facilities audit, I mean, I think as Commissioner Eastman is alluding to, we have a fairly comprehensive analysis of all of our facilities needs. Pretty much, we did that about, I think, a year and a half ago. If y'all remember, we actually presented that information to you when we had the Street Station Strong Foundations discussion. I think to Commissioner Eastman's point, we know where we have facilities issues. It largely is a funding and capacity issue, which I'm sure the audit will, if that's the thrust of the audit, then it's not going to tell you anything you don't already know, or we haven't already discussed with y'all. With respect to the RTS ADA audit, I did want to see if there's any clarity. Are we talking about paratransit service, which we don't currently, but we are about to start next year? Or are we talking about ADA service, which we already provide on fixed route? So, I mean, last year we provided about 630,000 ADA trips just with our fixed route. So I wanted to see if there was any clarity on that aspect, just so we know kind of what to prepare for. Because obviously, if we're talking about paratransit, then I would 100% agree with some of the previous statements made about that audit being towards the tail end of next year, as opposed to when we're actually in the thick of implementing.
I have no problem, like I already said, about this audit being at the end of next year. And I'll also reiterate the fact that when we begin to do any of these audits, we will be doing yet another in-depth risk assessment in these particular audit areas. So at this point, I am unable to say to you that when we begin to do these audits, this is what we're going to be doing. At this point, it's kind of general because we are going to be doing an in-depth risk assessment in here. But there is a general idea of what we will do. It might change depending on a particular risk assessment for the area once we get going.
Right, but I think what the question here is these are very, are we appropriately on our fixed routes, like on our RTS buses, are we appropriately dealing with ADA accessibility standards within there, or is this an audit of the the MV contract, which I think are very, those are very different styles of audits.
Just to add to that, I mean, the other list I think about audited by outside agencies. I mean, obviously all the paratransit service or ADA service we currently provide is through FTA, through federal dollars, and we already have auditing that has to occur on a regular basis for that. So anyway, I think from what the manager indicated, it would be good to have a more in-depth conversation on some of these so we have a better understanding of how to prepare for them, when it would be most appropriate in terms of operations. So.
Well, and to your point, Mr. Mayor, because we completed 5 audits last year. Am I remembering that correctly? Is that yeah. I mean, I know you said that you wanted to move to a more agile system, but I do think that your discussion about how you prioritize these audits will probably be very important. I know you're going for a 70% completion rate, but this seems, when we've completed 5 audits last year, and there's 13, I believe, on here. It's 12. This is an ambitious.
Like I said, it is ambitious. But if everything goes well, we think we will be able to hit at least 70% of this, because again, we will do a more concentrated risk assessment to see which particular areas we have to go for. I mean, if you read the transportation audit, as it states now, is RTS, ADA, Transportation, Consumer Complaints and Safety. It kind of gives you what it is. We are talking about safety, complaints, ADA. And I have seen certain audits that do something like this and they end up just being on ADA after doing a risk assessment, which is a little deeper. You find that, okay, this is the route we are taking and we're going to be dealing only with ADA. So we are not going to be doing those really long 800-hour audits that take forever to complete. We want to streamline it as much as we can.
Okay.
Good. Okay. All right. Thank you, Commissioner Eastman. Mr. Monk, anything? Okay. Does anybody want to make a motion of any sort?
Yeah. I'll make a motion. I guess what we're doing is we're recommending this to the overall city commission, right? And then, which would come to us during which agenda? What meeting are we thinking?
Usually it's the next regular meeting. But the next regular meeting is it this Thursday? October 16th.
October 16th. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I would like some clarity on the ADA type thing, or it would be nice that if we could work out some of these before then, and I guess we can always pull it off of consent agenda at that point and have that discussion at that particular time. But I mean, we still have, it's almost a month that you can have a couple more discussions with the city manager's office for operations so that we can try to sort this through, because I do think, same thing when we decided to pull the procurement division out because it was under management watch. It's when these departments are going through transition, it can be hard to also say, okay, now we're looking like you're auditing something that is kind of in flux at the moment. It's nice for it to settle out and then make sure that everything is that we're auditing a completed department that is now back into a stable position of doing.
Absolutely. I mean, it will not be new. I mean, procurement is a good example. Workday is another example. We've done it before. We can do it again.
All right. That's it. Yeah.
So let me ask one question before then. What do we currently, what do you have on the table right now already?
What we're working on right now?
What are you working on right
We
now?
are working on PCI. We are working on asset management.
Okay.
That's what we have right now.
Okay. Part of me wants to wait until December 9th when, I mean, that's a long way off. So until the next meeting of this committee to approve the audit plan and make sure that there is agreement about what makes sense to audit. But I don't want to wait until, the year is 25% through to approve the plan also. So yes, I would be willing to vote to approve this recommendation to go to the commission with the understanding that we have to have another discussion about it at the commission on the 16th.
If I may make this suggestion, I don't know if it makes sense. If you can approve this plan without the two topics that have been brought up,
Okay.
without the RTS and without the health insurance. Am I correct?
Yeah, that was the other one.
That will bring us down to a total of 10. And still 10. We are working on 2 already, which are not here. So 10 is still quite a bit.
And then you're saying you feel like you can complete
That's what I would like to
7
try to do.
for next year.
That's what I would like to do.
Okay. Actually, 10 here, 12. Yeah, I mean that's a pretty, including the 2 that currently exist. That is ambitious. Okay. Okay. I would be willing to it. Madam Manager.
I fully support our audit function. But now that GRU is no longer under the city's management, I would just caution that without GRU being under the auditor's auspices in terms of his review, that an overload of audits, and I know 10, 12, that's a lot of audits. It's at least 1 a month. We have limited capacity, even though we have great staff. And there are audits going on beyond the audits that are going on in our internal audit department. And I just want to make sure that we understand that there needs to be a balance there.
Thank you.
Perhaps I missed it. So the 2 things that we were thinking about pulling was the ADA and then the health insurance, right? Can we explain, we mentioned obliquely the health insurance and why that would be an issue. Can we, why
pull health insurance?
Why pull health insurance is the question.
Welcome, Mr. Robel.
Hi, Steve Arbell, Risk Management Director. One, I don't know what the scope of the audit is. So, and at the turn of the year, we are blending 2 separate benefit systems, and we're working with GRU for them to set up their own payroll, and it's a real drain on staff time, a small staff's time. So timing and scope are really, they haven't been discussed. We could probably, knowing what they wanted, it'll be timing more than anything else, because it's a heavy lift helping them set up their benefits subsystem, and then reconciling 2 separate data sources into a single API that we send to vendors. Right. And we'd like an opportunity to work through that before, spending limited staff time on other things. Okay. Right. I want GRU to be successful if that's what they want to do. But our priority is to ensure that members' coverage is not disrupted because of a system change. Yeah. And it's labor intensive, Mr. Mayor. So.
Okay. So the concern, if we can just boil it down, so we're talking about doing a lot more audits. And I understand what you're saying is that the intent is to be more agile and for these not to be a shut down the department for 2 months sort of audit. But I will 100% guarantee you that every one of these departments is concerned that it is still going to be a shut down the department for a couple months while an audit happens sort of audit. And we don't know how an agile system operates. I'm confident that you are confident and that your staff is confident, but the folks you're going to be auditing have not worked in a system that works quickly and is not quite the heavy lift. All of these, I believe, are all city manager office, all but that bottom line. These are all things that happen under the purview of the city manager. And we are going to be down a person for a good chunk of next year in the city manager's office, at senior management. So I have concerns about having 12 audits, because there are 12 here plus the 2 in existence. We're taking 2 off this list. So you're talking about 12 audits. That's a lot. It's a high standard to complete when you want to meet a 70% completion. And I hear what the city manager is saying, that this is that there is concern that this is going to create a big slowdown in work. Because what we then, as the city commission, are looking for is for everything to continue to operate flawlessly. And when they come to us and say, I wish we could have delivered that to you, but we spent the last month being audited internally, that creates a kink in the system for us to deliver to the community. And it's better to have this open discussion than for anybody to come back later in the year and say, well, this isn't how we thought it was going to be. And I think that's partially the purpose of a committee like this, to be able to have those discussions. Even though we're doing it, thoroughly publicly, it is, those are the concerns, those are the risks as I see them.
Sorry, I should have said this before. Light bulb went off. The residential garbage collection, as you all know, we're about to be going out pretty soon for ITN. I believe it's an ITN for a vendor. So that may be another factor to consider in terms of timing for that audit, because we're going to be in negotiations for a new contract for hauler and all that good stuff for our residential component. So.
Very good. Thank you.
This is a proposed plan. This isn't cast in stone. No, audit plans never are, because circumstances change. So to say we've got 12 audits that we're planning for, we only may get to 8 or 9 of them, and you change your plan through the year as circumstances require. So I don't see where there's an issue as far as this plan. It's how it's followed through the year and what changes are made and why they're made. Because there are going to be changes, I'll guarantee you. And some of these are not going to get done, and one of the reasons is you'll probably have 2 or 3 that get thrown in because of circumstances and have to take the place of something. So, a plan is just that. This is not saying we're going to be requiring that all of this get done in this order. I don't see an issue.
Okay.
I mean, I will say that for the oversight, as city commissioners, when we sit up here, we have a couple of things that we actually have some levers to pull on, like ordinance changes, zonings, the exact plans for capital projects, but they're more limited, I think, than what people give us credit for. And as it relates to auditing and our internal audits, the audit plan's what we got, right? Like the rest of the time we'll sit here, we'll say, that audit was done. Thank you so much for that. By the time it gets to us, the auditors talk to the staff of the department. I think you guys try to figure things out with one another, as opposed to have us sit here as the audit committee and say, well, we've now decided to, stand beside operations as opposed to stand with the auditor on this. Should we be riskier? Should we disagree with that? So we don't end up doing that sort of thing. What we do have is the plan. And on the agile, I think the agile thing is an interesting. It does seem like a very different way to connect to all this, because theoretically every department might have just one tiny narrow sliver of what it does audited at any given time, and so you might get contacted again next year for a different small sliver of it, but it's kind of a different approach to it's taking risk assessment, right, and then sort of even taking that from the department level and bringing it even down further into the smaller level, so that you're able to do more kind of micro level risk assessment.
It's a kind of auditing practice that I can maybe describe as being nimble-footed.
Right.
Yeah, being fast and quick in what you do. And one of the underlying ideas behind that is not to waste managers' time. We know how important that is. I'll give you an example of the city of Tampa. I worked there for more than 10 years. The city of Tampa audits, most of them, are budgeted at 300 hours, no more. 300 hours. And if you take a look at what Tampa does, they will have like 18 audits in a year, because they move that fast. And another very important thing is what Mr. Monk just said. that this is only a plan. And audit plans, audit agendas can be changed, and they are often changed during the year. And point number 3, again, is my approach is when I have a plan like this, I'm not going to just go to them and say, we are doing this, we are doing this, we are doing that. I will have discussions with them to say, where do we go first? What is the best audit to do now? And so that at the end of the day, everybody is having to participate in an audit at a time that suits them. I will give an example of parks and recreation, for example. They have swimming pools, and etc. And swimming pools, aquatics, is very busy during the summer. You don't want to go and do an audit with aquatics during the summer because they're busy doing other things. You find a different time. So all those little things, they come out to us as decision points from discussions we have with managers. And that, we don't deviate from that. No audit is ever a good audit when it's done with the managers reluctant and not willing. That's the approach I have.
All right, that makes sense.
So we need some kind of motion.
Yeah, I mean, so it sounds like with health insurance, it has more to, with time allocation related to when that gets scheduled. I do have more concern about the ADA transportation just because it's, I mean, my guess is that this is related to that particular contract and through all that. I would if I were to make a motion, I guess I will make a motion, is that we we approve the audit plan and take out the RTS ADA transportation, consumer complaints and safety, and then have more conversation, and then let.
He said he was willing to take out health insurance too, so.
Yeah, I mean, I can take out health insurance, that's fine. So I'll do both of those. Take out the health insurance portion of it as well, and then have that go forward to the city commission, to recommend to the city commission that plan with those two taken out.
No second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that passes unanimously. Mr. Clerk.
Next we have member comment.
Anyone?
None.
Okay. All right, and we have our next meeting date, December 9th. And anything else on the agenda?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.